Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dad Designer podcast. Today, I'm joined by Karl McCarthy. Hi, Karl. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Why don't you tell folks a little bit about where you're located, a bit about your work, and also tell us about your family?
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Carl. I'm from the UK. I'm based in the northeast of England. I've lived there my whole life, and this is where I work as well. I work from home with a shared office with my wife. We're both incredibly lucky to work from home and be around the children more. Um, I'm primarily a logo and brand identity designer. I've been doing that currently for about seven years now. Prior to that, I was a sign maker or a sign writer. Did that for about 13 years, and that kind of led me on naturally to where I am now. Um, and yeah, I just love working with big, bold brands, people who aren't shy, want to stand out and stuff like that. And yeah, man, just loving what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. As a sign maker, do you still do any of that? Were you painting? What was that? What did that look like?
Yeah, so it wasn't like the traditional like hand painting, although I would have loved to have done that. I just don't have a steady enough hand, and probably not the patience as well. So when I became a sign writer, it was entering like the digital age then. So everything was on computer, cut on vinyl. Um, so yeah, man, I did that for 13 years, and um, that's where I really learned like the design programs there. Learned to deal with clients, working one on one with customers, working a lot with logos, branding, all that type of thing. Um, and yeah, just kind of naturally led me towards like the world of like brand design. Um, and after, like I say, after 13 years, I just made that jump, and that was it. I've been doing it now for about 7 years.
Nice. And was that jump before or after you had your kids?
So it was during, which is probably not a good time to do it. I remember my boss at the time. He was like, "Are you sure? Like, you want to do this now?" And my co-workers as well. They were thinking I was like just on something else. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It was like you get that feeling, don't you? And like there's no there's no better time really. You just got to do it. So I did it. The first year didn't really go well, I'll be honest, because the first year was just me just making tons and tons of mistakes, learning from those mistakes, and then the year after, that was like that's when it really mattered. That's when I was like serious about it, because like on reflection, like when you're working from home and you can just be your own boss, working in 9 till 5. Well, actually, it was eight a.m. till 5 p.m. Like not being able, you just kind of stuck there. Yeah, it just didn't really appeal to me anymore. So I really wanted to make this work, and yeah, here I am. So
You said the first year it didn't work out great, but the second year it did. Was there a catalyst other than getting serious about it? Did you have like a big breakthrough client or moment, or was it just kind of like you put your nose down and said, I'm going to make this thing work?
yeah, it was kind of a mix of all of it. To be honest, when I started out, I was putting everything into social media. Um, so obviously, I was following a lot of the same accounts, being inspired by those people, watching those go through the same things, kind of inspired me to push along, seeing that it does work and there is evidence behind it. Um, and also just the fact of just like I say, working for yourself, being your own boss, really appealed to me. It wasn't about making thousands and millions of pounds. It was just the fact that I can just do exactly what I love to do, get paid for it, albeit the payment wasn't very big then, but obviously as I've grown year by year, it's gone higher. But yeah, it was just the alternative wasn't working for me,
Hmm.
and that was the big thing that really pushed me. And then obviously when Teddy was introduced to our lives, I just wanted to spend all my time with him, and thinking of like waking up at like 7 a.m., out the door at 8 a.m., probably not having seen my kid, and then probably not seeing him until I get home, spending probably 2 hours with him before he goes to bed, like it didn't really work. So now, I can go to work whenever I want, as long as the work's done. I'm happy, and then I've got the freedom to do whatever I want.
We were talking a little bit beforehand how the boys are in school, and
Mm,
like once school's out, you've had enough heads downtime that you can jump over, pick them up from school, and hang out with them for the rest of the evening. Which
mm,
um, I agree is there's nothing else like that.
yeah, so good.
But the clients that you do have, I was looking through your portfolio. You've mentioned this already. They're bold. They want to stand out. And
Mm,
there was two things that I noticed when I was scrolling through your Instagram. One, there's a lot of characters,
mm,
and two, there is a lot of playful type. Um,
yeah.
so talk to us a little bit, and like maybe you'll go into different of these, but like Mariola, Inferno, Bold Creatures, Nomster, Dirty Albatross. Like they all are character based. They're all
Yeah.
unique and really stand out. So what what is it about that aesthetic and that style that really appeals to you and your clients?
Well, naturally, I've always been like a lot of creatives, creative. Ever since I was old enough to pick up a pencil, and I am absolutely terrible at anything realistic. So I would always be drawing, like, just making up these daft creatures, or copying my favorite cartoon from Fox Kids or Cartoon Network. So I've always been drawn to that kind of cartoony style, like that hand drawn, rough, kind of weird looking like illustrations. And that's what I find easy to do. That's what I love to do. I enjoy doing that. And being able to work with other people who would enjoy that stuff as well is like, well, it's a dream come true. It's a match made in heaven. It really is enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. I don't shy away from like the really simple, modern, stripped back identities, but it's where the kind of playful identities is where I really want to push more and go more into designing, like these characters. Again, that just goes back to the cartoon characters that I would copy off the TV. The playful type. It all just stems from being able to sketch on paper, and that's when it comes to those identities, that's where it all starts. So I can kind of mimic that same hand drawn feel. It just translates well into that kind of niche, I suppose. Yeah, it's something I really love to do, and it's something I hope to just keep on doing. Hopefully, people will still be interested in that kind of style for years and years to come. So yeah, really happy with that.
I think the one that stood out to me the most, and it might just be because I have interest in this field, but Dirty Albatross, for it's a golf brand, and most golf brands are, PGA style where it's very stuffy and very austere, but this one, it's an albatross. If you don't know what an albatross is in golf, it's one stroke better than an eagle. So if a birdie is one under par, eagle's two under par, an albatross would be three under
Mm.
par. And so I just love what you came up with for them. But talk to us a little bit about that process and how you were able to take golf and make it cool.
Yeah, so that one was difficult. It was quite challenging because they wanted to come across as a serious brand, but then also wanted to stand out and look different. The name they came up with, they tried to get obviously the albatross in there because it is something rare. It's something not every kind of player gets. And the dirty was just kind of like a thing that just says we're a bit alternative. We're going to ruffle some feathers, kind of thing. And yeah, man, it was just like this kind of medley of looking professional but wanting to stand out at the same time. We went through tons of ideas. I made loads of sketches of like, how could I get an albatross to look as if it was like interrupting the golf game somehow? So I had it like this albatross was sitting on top of like the golf tee, or it was flying away with like a golf club. We eventually landed with this idea of the golf ball within its like mouth, as if it was like, it's been disruptive of the game. So we created this really clean kind of mascot badge with this hand drawn like signature type, and just kept it simple, in terms of like line work, just so that it did come across professional, serious, and something that the average golf player wouldn't mind kind of wearing like on a hat or like on the badge of the shirt. And then we chose this like striking like neon teal color, which on reflection probably wasn't great because it was an ass to print. So we did some tweaking there. But overall, the two guys who hired me to do it were over the moon with it. And yeah, I just, every time I see it pop up like on my website or like my timeline, I still look at it and think like, just really proud of it. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. And have your boys seen any of the logo work characters? Are they drawn to any of them in particular?
Yeah, I don't think they know, like, I don't think they fully understand like what I do. Like, especially Archie, he's only 3. Teddy comes in from time to time, and like he'll see me working on some stuff, and if it's like illustration stuff like those the stickers I did for Mariola, I'll bring him in and I'll ask his opinion on them and say like, which one's your favorite? Which one do you like? What color should I do this? Just to try and get him like involved in it, because he is very creative himself, which is lovely to see. Whether or not he'll go into this kind of industry or not, it doesn't really bother me. But it does. It is interesting to see him come in and ask questions about it. He'll even ask to have a go. Like he'll come in and like I'll give him my mouse and I'll say, right, okay, I want you to move this over there and change this to that color and stuff like that. And he does it. But then he just walks out like not really impressed with it. So, but yeah, it's good to see that they do have a little bit of interest. Whether or not that'll grow or not, I'm not really too bothered, as long as he kind of like just keeps up his creativity in himself. He loves drawing, he loves colouring books, he loves colouring stuff in, and just just getting messy with his hands as well.
Yeah. Are there any modern day inspiration sources in the cartoon, maybe children's book realm that stand out to you?
Yeah, actually, one thing, and this is something like we all watch as a family as well. It's the Cuphead show,
Oh yeah,
which is
yeah.
on Netflix. I love that old fashioned like rubber hose style like cartoons, and like we'll watch like Mickey Mouse and stuff on Disney. Yeah, we do watch like a lot of cartoons, like not by my choice, but just like through the kids. We end up just like sitting and laughing, watching them together, and because I've seen them growing up, like SpongeBob SquarePants, for example. Like I've watched like all of those, but watching them with the kids, I'm like looking at like all the different like line styles and illustrations and backdrops and stuff like that. So I do get like a little bit of inspiration from those still today, which is interesting to think of actually. Yeah, quite influenced, in particularly like the old mascot style, like the Cuphead show, like that. I love that kind of style.
I was actually just having a conversation with some people on Threads about Cuphead because it's a video game on the Nintendo Switch too.
That's
Um,
right. Yeah.
and I was unfamiliar with the show and the
Yeah,
game, and so I went down this rabbit hole,
yeah,
and just the visual style on that is really really
it
cool.
is. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wonder if we were part of the same discussion or not because I did see something on there. And like the game, I don't know if you've played the game yet, but the game is ridiculous.
I
Like
hear it's hard.
it's yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's stressful as well because like as a grown man, as a 35-year-old man, like I think of myself as like a gamer. Like I do game a lot, and playing that game and not being able to beat the boss at the end it's like frustrates me. So I'd wait for the kids to go to bed, and then I'd come back downstairs and try and complete these levels.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
good,
All of a
good
sudden,
fun.
the artistry that you appreciate about the show goes
Yeah.
out the
Oh,
window
it's
because you're
gone.
so frustrated.
It's gone. I don't care about the style. I just want to beat this cartoon boss.
Yeah, I could definitely see how that style would jive with a lot of the stuff that you've created too.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think it's just something that's happened naturally. I've not kind of looked at these shows or these images and copied them like directly or
Right.
not directly being influenced. I think it's just something that's just stuck with you, and the more you kind of watch those kinds of things, it sticks in your mind. And naturally, when you come to drawing any kind of character, you naturally go to those kind of styles because they're like kind of top of mind. Um, but yeah, any brand who's down for like a mascot style character, I'm like, come on, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and you did that for Mariola. You kind of mentioned them. It's a motion graphics shop.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about that process because those graphics are really cool too.
yeah. So we started off with two concepts for Mariola. And Mariola, the name was based on the guy's daughter. She's actually called Mariella, but the story is some old lady had misheard the name and started calling her Mariola. So he thought, that's a pretty good name for a brand. So started the brand with that. And like I said, we started with two options. One option where it was what you see now, which is basically like a mascot of his daughter's face in some ways. Like it's got her characteristics, like the smiley eyes and the kind of like backwards cap look. With this hand drawn, like retro American style type, which was really important to have, as the owner loved that aesthetic. He loved like the old retro badges. And then the other option that we didn't go with was more of a probably what you'd typically see within motion design. Not necessarily like on the nose, but we had this logo where it was like this big capital M. It looked like a flaming skull and it had these flames coming off it to show like the motion. But thankfully we went with the first direction. And naturally it kind of led us to those illustrations. It wasn't part of the initial deliverables. It's something we looked at after seeing the mascot and seeing, where we could use it and what other assets we could have. We came up with these other kind of sticker designs that were kind of linked to motion design, to the interests of the owner, and there was a sticker of a triceratops. Like people would look at that and think, "What the hell's that got to do with motion design?" But that's linked to his daughter's like interests. Like she loves triceratops, so there's that meaning behind it as well. But yeah, that was just the blast of work, and I just spent days and days just sketching away. It was awesome.
It turned out really well, and I love it when you can incorporate obscure aspects into a brand because it feels more personal. And I agree with what you said. Like, what does that have to do with motion design? And I feel like that's where really great brands have depth, is in not shying away from the personality of the, like, I'm sure the owner is partly the brand too, right? And so like
Yeah,
it's important that people understand, oh, this is the totality of who this human is that I'm hiring, which is just a
yeah,
really cool exploration to go down.
yeah. I don't. It wouldn't work for like a big corporate company where it was like a huge team of workers. I think because it is a personal brand, it uses like a play on the daughter's name. It's got a mascot of the daughter's name. You then have you invited to then inject more kind of personality into there. Plus, it sparks interest. Like someone looks at that, or someone picks up like a Triceratops skull stick, and they think, "What the hell is this? Where does this come from?" They're gonna like look into it and find out more.
That's really cool. And you've mentioned sketching a number of times. Have you always enjoyed sketching, drawing? I think you mentioned earlier you never liked realism, but you would draw these cartoon characters. So did that start when you were a kid?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I've never not enjoyed sketching, and in particular, like just even doodling. I remember when I was in school, like my notebooks would just be covered front to back in all these like doodles. I really wish I'd held on to them. But yeah, man, like I've always been like I've got sketchbooks like behind me, and they're just full of random sketches. I hold on to like the sketches I create from identities as well. Um, Not that I'll ever need them, but they're fun to look back on, and like I think like maybe in the future I could show them to Teddy or show them to Archie, so they can see like from start to finish like how a project goes, and just I don't know, maybe feel inspired by that. But yeah, I've always loved doing it. I don't do it for every project. It's more so like the illustrative styles, if they need like a custom handwritten type. Um, the ones where the kind of logos are more geometric and kind of angular, I think I'm at a stage now where I can just dive straight into the computer and just draw it out there, map it out there. So yeah, it's something I still enjoy doing to this day.
I saw on your Instagram too. There are these little tear outs, circles of sketches of different identity, maybe
Yeah.
ideas or things. Did you redo those for content and then tear them out, or do you just draw on little circles of paper?
No, there was some. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be totally honest here, up front. There were some that I've drawn out after the project,
Yeah,
whereas the original sketch was maybe a bit janky. So I've just redone it really quickly. But I see those all the time on the internet now, like on Instagram, where I see these perfectly curated sketches,
yeah,
and having done that myself and knowing that you've done that after the project, not before.
yep.
I know exactly what they're doing. But yeah, like I love the sketches like for Bold Creatures. I did a ton of sketches
Mm,
beforehand because that one was super cartoony and like I just went to town doing all these different things. So that kind of snapshot of those Ted illustrations were all done prior to the project. If there is a project where it is illustrative, but I haven't done so many sketches, I'd either just not show the sketches or maybe just add sprinkle a few more in there, just to kind of build it out a bit because I think it's interesting to see like this entire snapshot of all these different sketches and like work out where it started and where it kind of finished, and also just visually for say if like a client was scrolling my Instagram, they could see as like a one big shot
yeah.
the kind of effort that's gone into like a project, and show that human side to it as well.
Yeah, there is a lot to be said for the final presentation of the end product and how
Yeah.
you set it up and show it. And there are a number of things in my portfolio that either never launched, never saw the light of day,
Yeah.
or the client chose to go a certain direction, which is fine,
Mm.
but I felt it was stronger in maybe a different colorway
Mm.
or a little bit different. And so that's the thing that I'll put in I might
Yeah.
put on Instagram.
Hmm.
Probably not my portfolio, but on Instagram to show like this is the capability. Not
Yeah. Yeah.
always 100% in love with the direction that the client chose to take
Mm.
it, but yeah. So I think there's something to that of there's no shame in cleaning up a sketch after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that's what it is. It's like just polishing it up, just kind of fluffing out the edges slightly, because it still shows your capabilities. You're just cheating a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you see these logo designs, very geometric logo designs, and they
Mm,
apply the grid lines and the circles and all that kind of
yeah.
stuff. And I was like, there's no way. There's
No.
very few of these where that was the
Yeah.
starting point.
Yeah. I used to do that as well because after seeing those people do the
Yeah.
grids, I thought, well, maybe I should do that now. But it was
Yeah.
always after the logo was done, signed off, paid for.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I see those like intricate grids where there's literally like 1,000 lines and like curves, and you think, no way
Yeah.
have you
Yeah.
started with that grid. It's just, and like, as a client, like, you look at that and you think, well, what the hell am I looking at? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Even as a designer, like, you just think, okay, like, yep, it's a
Yeah.
grid.
There was one logo design that I've created where it was the only way to build it for me was to draw out a bunch of circles. And so
Mm,
I did finish it, and then I went back after the fact and I laid the outlined circles over
yeah,
it to show the structure of how it was built.
yeah,
But there was only one.
yeah.
Yeah.
It can work for some logos. Like, someone did it with like
Yeah.
the old Twitter bird logo, where it's just
Right.
like made of circles. Like, that shows you like just the simplicity of that. But when you've got like a logo where you've got all these different lines going on, and like even on like the typography as well, where they've got the lines, you just think it's too much. It's just visually something you can't even like you don't know where to look.
I think it was inspired from like patent drawings, um,
Mm.
where they have a
Yeah,
lot
like
of
a
the
blueprint.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I think the inspiration is there. I'm just always skeptical of whether or not someone
yeah. We
started
know
there.
what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, very cool. I really appreciate you spending some time together. I have two
Yeah,
more
man.
questions. As a dad, what has been your greatest parenting success, and what has been your greatest parenting either learning or failure?
Success. I mean, it's not something I really think about because, like, as a dad, you just go through the motions. You just take each day as it comes. Um, but I think success wise, I don't know, man. I just feel like incredibly lucky that I've landed this um, kind of job in a way. Being lucky enough to spend a lot of time with my two boys and like my wife as well. I know not a lot of other like parents don't get that kind of luxury. So I do appreciate, and I am aware that I am incredibly lucky to be able to do that. So I think in terms of success, that's where it kind of is for me. Just being, yeah, just having the freedom to do what I want. I don't miss any kind of school plays. I'm able to go pick the kids up, drop them off at school, go pick them up, have the evenings with them. Whereas, like I say, if I was still working my 8 till 5 job, I would probably only be spending 2 or 3 hours a day, which is absolutely crazy to think about. And I know some families are living that way, but yeah, man, I just feel incredibly fortunate and I guess successful in a way to be in this position.
Yeah.
But in terms of failures, I wouldn't like to say I've failed on anything. My wife might think differently, but, but something I am still learning and like trying to figure out is that balance, that work life balance, because working from home does have a lot of pros, but also there comes some like cons with it. So if once sometimes when I finish work at like 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, the kids are home. I don't get that kind of time to dissociate from work. Do you know what I mean? So I don't have like a half an hour drive or a commute on a bus where I can kind of just switch into dad mode. I've just got to like snip snap into these different situations. And there's been times where I'm still in work mode, but I'm sat with the kids. You know, I'm on my phone, I'm emailing clients, I'm looking through Instagram, messaging people, and like the boys are like wanting my attention, and I'm just like, oh, just 1 second, oh, just 1 second. And like when I think about it like that, I just think putting myself in their shoes when they just want my attention, and I'm like head down on my phone, just saying like 1 minute, 1 minute. That's something I need to work on and get better at. Just I don't know how I would do it. Like maybe switch off the computer at 2:30 and spend just half an hour in here, just kind of just debriefing almost. And then once I'm mentally ready and I can give those boys my full attention, then go into it, because I'd rather spend just half an hour here on my own, even if I'm just staring at the wall, than them seeing me like head down constantly on my phone, telling them to wait. So yeah, that's definitely something I need to learn on and get better at.
Well, I know the questions are a little bit deeper and harder, so I appreciate your honesty there. If folks want to find you online, where can they go to do that?
I'm pretty much active a lot of the time on Instagram and Threads, and if people want to go check out my work or see what I'm all about, just type into any search bar or Instagram, Karl McCarthy, Karl McCarthy Design, and I'll pop up.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Carl, for coming on, and thanks for sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.